Right, with that being said, we understand that the Social Development Minister is currently on the scene. This is where, of course, the fire had erupted just yesterday. Let's listen in. That's Minister Lindiwe Zulu.
We have to go there and at least have that conversation with them. The most important thing for us as a department is just the well-being of those that have survived. But beyond their well-being is how do we assist them? Because, as you say, some of the mortal remains are still here and they are bent beyond. Sure. We are not sure. Okay.
That's why.
Whatever the case might be, if they are there, if they are not there, whatever the case might be, this is going to be a long, drawn process. And for those who are able to be communicated to, what is the plan of government to assist them now is the most important thing. Just humanely, that's what we need to deal with as a department. But obviously, we can't work alone. The Department of Home Affairs, the Department of Human Settlement, Health as well, the city itself. Quite frankly, what we need here is a proper coordinated effort to just be humane about what has happened to the people here. It's a disaster. It's beyond a disaster. Losing so many people at one go. The president was here and he expressed himself. We are the foot soldiers now. We just got to get the job done. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Yes.
There is a meeting at 10 of the city manager and the task team of different departments, including the province. Okay. So I would urge the social development as well to be part of that.
Yes.
So that, an integrated response can be made.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because they started like yesterday, so they are going on like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The team also interacts with them.
Yeah.
So that we can know where are the people, what is happening.
Yes. Yeah. We are going to where the people have been accommodated right now, and then we will have to take some time engaging with them and comforting them, because it's one thing to be talking about what happened, how, but they are human beings in the middle of it all. We need to start from there. They are human beings who thought they were just making a life for themselves under very, very difficult conditions. And as Minister Kumbuzo said yesterday, one of the things that we're going to be engaging with the province and the city is what is it that we're going to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again. At the center of it all, for me, these are the pains of building a democracy coming out of a system that kept people like this, and then people thought, well, we can come and occupy the building without even thinking on day-to-day basis, what is the safety of this place? Can we live like? Because I saw one woman yesterday when the media was asking her who collects the rent, and she said Mdu, something like Mdu was collecting the rent. And I think that the relevant authorities must find the people who are busy collecting the rent, because how do you collect the rent and then not bother about how people are living,
Minister,
thank you.
Puleli Chiti Jones, ENCA, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. Just before you go, we just wanted to find out, is the Department of Social Development going to be taking accountability about what happened? Because the last NGO to lease this building here within the city was, of course, in 2014 as well. But the most national, organizations, civic organizations, non-profit organizations are saying that the government must take accountability, and the Department of Social Development must also take accountability. What's your take on that?
This building doesn't belong to the Department of Social Development. Let us just clarify that and start from there. And secondly, the responsibility we will take as a government, and especially at national and provincial level, is to look after the people that were in this building, find out where they are. I've been given now the address of where those people are. And secondly, what is important for the Department of Social Development is to deal with the post-traumatic stress of what has happened to these people. I can't imagine what it could have been me there with a child and the fire there. So what happened and who is responsible for what, the due process and the law will take its course from a point of view of the police and everybody concerned. The Department of Social Development sincerely cannot take responsibility of a building that did not fall under the Department of Social Development.
What do you make as well of NGOs who are housing women and children as well in some of the derelict buildings in Johannesburg? These are NGOs as well. Obviously, some saying they're trying to get assistance from the Department of Social Development, but there isn't any intervention or interaction whatsoever.
There is no NGO that is worth anything that can be keeping women and children under such circumstances. I don't think it was an NGO that was taking rent from the people who are here. And any other NGO that is anywhere keeping anybody anywhere, there are processes, due processes, and there are standards and norms that have to be done by the NGOs, because I keep saying this government of the African National Congress spends 82 billion per year, giving that amount of money to NPOs in order for those NPOs to make sure that what they say they stand for, what they are there for, is done properly. And that amount of money is a lot of money that has to be given to NPOs. Some NPOs, I can tell you, they're doing the best. Actually, they're stretching much more than what the government is giving them, because many of them, they go beyond what government is giving them. They go to the private sector, they go to churches, they go to different organizations to get more support. As far as we are concerned, as a Department of Social Development, I can assure you, with the MEC, if she was here, she would also be expressing the same sentiment, that there is no NGO. We are the custodian of the NGO Act. And we are not only custodian of the NGO Act, we also support NGOs by training the NGOs, by registering the NGOs, by deregistration of NPOs also when they are not doing the right thing. So there's no NPO that was responsible for this building, I can assure you that.
Minister, you spoke so poignantly now about compassion, showing compassion in the face of such abject, horrifying tragedy. You are going to the different places where the people have been temporarily housed, but logistically, how is that going to work? How long are they going to be staying there? And do you have an idea of how many there are that are going to be temporarily housed?
Well, the good thing is that as a government, again, we have had experience of disasters and the management of disasters thereof. We know what we are supposed to do as a Department of Social Development immediately when there is a disaster. The fact that we were here as one of the departments that had to be here, and our first concern is the well-being of the people who at least survived the fire. That's our responsibility. And that we have to deal with putting them in a shelter, ensuring that they have food, ensuring that we go and find even clothing and something for them, ensuring that we coordinate other NPOs and NGOs who are able to support us. That's our responsibility. But having said that, it is also our responsibility to look at what are we going to do to those ones who have lost their loved ones, the ones who have been going to the hospitals looking for their loved ones. It's our responsibility as a Department of Social Development at Nation, and so that's why our biggest cry about social workers. Now you understand why we are in the forefront of saying this country needs more social workers than we have, because even in the city center like this, the city of Johannesburg should be able to say, under their responsibility, how many social workers do they have? How many of these social workers can we take out to go and at least have the conversation? Because I'm not a professional social worker, but there's something about your heart and your mind, just starting from there. But the professionals who fall under us must then take the responsibility. That's why this morning, the first and most important thing was first for us to come and see for ourselves, to know what we are talking about. As I said yesterday, I was in Limpopo, hence I wasn't able to be here, but I can tell you I was in constant contact with my department, my department, the officials of the province. Also, we were in constant contact with them as to what needs to be done. The other issue is about The future, because it's one thing for us to talk about what's happening here.
There's so many of them here that
exactly.
Right now.
For me, it's about the future. When Minister Nchaveni says this must not happen again, what is the meaning of that? For me, it's simply and straightforward. One, the state of the people must always be at the center of everything we do. And therefore, the state of the people who live within the city, what is the plan for those people? Because I can tell you, when I was the Minister of Small Business Development, I used to have constant contact with Pakstow when he was the mayor. And I know that there were beautiful plans that they had at that time, starting from Mabonengi, going this way, and starting from Braamfontein, and they had very good plans, and they had started on those plans. We need to find out what happened to those plans. Why did those plans stop? Because those plans, including there are a few buildings that you can go to and find it, they renovated, they built, because they were looking at the inner city life. They were looking at the students who live within the inner city. They were looking at the informal businesses of the people who have to come and sit here and sell things and then go back to the township. There was a grand plan. Whatever happened to the plan is what we need to. Here's my well, thank you for coming through. That plan needs to be revived. That plan needs to be implemented. And I think part of what becomes a problem is when you keep having too many changes. You have a plan, somebody else comes in, does not even look at the plan to say, okay, I'm not in the same thinking as you, but what was good of this plan and what is it that I can do to implement the plan? Because unfortunately for us, whether we like it or not, this is the result of apartheid that kept people under such conditions, and we are expected to have changed those conditions within the 30 years. We must take responsibility where we have to take responsibility. And lastly, I think what is important is that we must move with our people. Our people must also have an appreciation that when there is somebody who is taking rent from you and not bothered about the state of affairs, that is a very big problem. So I lived in Hillbrow, I lived in Berea, and if there's one thing we were very sure of is that you know who you're paying your rent to. You know who you have to talk to when there's no water, when there's no electricity. And right now we have people who are taking advantage of desperate citizens, but also desperate foreign nationals who are here, who all they want is just to make a living. That's all they want to do. And those who are taking advantage of them, I think the law must take its course on them.
Minister, just on the issue of foreign nationals, of course, are they also going to be receiving assistance? Because we've been told that there were also undocumented foreign nationals who are residing here. Is the government going to be helping them with, taking the bodies back home for burial purposes as well? Will you be intervening here in terms of helping the foreign nationals who are documented and undocumented as well?
First and foremost, let there be an appreciation of the fact that we are Africans, first and foremost, and what our conditions are as Africans overall, whether it's in South Africa, whether it's any other place. This government of the African National Congress has always said, once you are in our country, you are documented, you are not documented. When there's a disaster that befalls you, you become our responsibility. And therefore our answer to that is that these are human beings, these are Africans, whether they are legal or illegal. At this point in time, we need to work together with the Department of Home Affairs. We need to work together with the department. Government overall has to first and foremost point to the fact that these are human beings. And when they are human beings, can we put aside the other issue and deal with the pain that these people are going through? As to what we are going to do thereafter is something that as government, I'm told there's a meeting at 10 this morning where all those issues of who is South African, who is foreign, what are their status, what is the status and all. We can deal with that because we have a capacity to deal with it. Right now, from a point of view of social development, myself as a Minister of Social Development, MEC Mbali as an MEC for Social Development, can we put at the center the fact that we are dealing with human beings and we are dealing with Africans like ourselves?
My colleague's question is actually so important because one of the biggest criticisms of government has been that government is inciting xenophobic attacks against foreign nationals. A lot of rhetoric was said throughout the course of the day yesterday, and the picture that it painted a picture of a government intolerant or unaccepting to foreign nationals.
Since 1994, by the way, prior to 1994, apartheid brought people from the neighboring countries, from Mozambique to Eswatini, from Malawi, from Zambia. These people were here as migrant laborers who were working in the mines here in Johannesburg. And this government of the African National Congress has never at any point, as a point of policy, to say these are foreign nationals and therefore we need to be treating them very differently. We have never done that. We are not even going to do that right now. It's even at a worse time now when there's been a disaster, there's been a loss of life. At the moment, can we just please think about these people and respond to them as a responsible government, as a government that is caring. We don't only care for South Africans who are here, we care for everybody who is here. And when I say let the law take its course, we are referring to, one, the people who have hijacked the building and have been forcing people to live under such conditions. When we say the law must take its course, it's also about our other departments like Home Affairs being able to also say who is legal, what do we do with those who are illegal here? Because the law does have to take its course. And it's not a rhetoric, that one. If we want law and order, if we want peace, stability and security in our country, we need to be sensitive and we need to make sure that we do the right things for a government and as far as accreditation, not accreditation, but documentation of foreign nationals. This unfortunately happened, it's a pain, but we also need to make sure that we know who was here. Because if you don't know who was here, how do you want anybody, even the one who's hijacked the building, how you want them to account for having put people there like cattle and yet be collecting money from them? Somebody has made money out of these people here. And it's not only this building, it's a whole lot of other buildings, including Beria and Hillbrow is the same story. And therefore government will have to then put a plan together. What do we do to make sure that in future we do not just say they are hijacked buildings without doing anything about it? Thank you.
Sorry, Minister.
Yes.
I just wanted to find out what communications do you as government have with other African diplomatic missions? Because every time there's such a situation in South Africa, it seems like all the burden goes to the South African government. Are there any cooperations that you are planning to put in place so that when such things happen, the governments from other countries, African countries, can also come and be responsible and play a part? Yes,
absolutely. Look, when we talk about foreign nationals, we talk about people who come from a particular country, whether it's the neighboring countries or it's further countries. I think that overall, as African leaders, we do need to take responsibility for our citizens overall.
Well, and that was the Minister of Social Development there, Lindiwe Zulu, just speaking to us currently right now regarding this tragic incident that took place, saying that they will be assisting everyone at this particular point, whether documented or undocumented foreign nationals, and South Africans as well. But to say all systems will be in place to assist everyone. Currently,